Welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm joined by Callum and James and Rafal in the studio. How you going, boys?
Yeah, not bad.
Rafal nods in affirmation that
Special
he is in
guest.
fact
He
here.
is here.
It's fine. He
doesn't want to talk,
That's
but he's
okay.
here.
That's all right. It's always good to have.
He's
Rafal
a live
in the studio.
listener. He's technically a live listener.
Technically, yeah, he's like the audience in a way of our
this
live
is
show.
our first Tuesday Review live show.
We've
got an audience of one.
Yeah.
One guy who we're holding hostage.
That's it. He's blinking SOS in the corner. He's like, "Oh no, get me out of here!"
Enacting our own real life horror movie.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It is Spooktober.
Yes. Before we start, can I do some housekeeping?
Yeah, of course.
Last Tuesday's episode 125, we were talking about Gravity Falls, and I accidentally called the creator of Gravity Falls Dan Hirsch. His name's Alex Hirsch, and I knew that, but I think I had a brain fart because we were talking about Dan Harmon.
Yeah.
And I was, so I don't know who the hell Dan Hirsch is, but Alex Hirsch is the creator of Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
I love Gravity Falls, so I wanted to correct that. Also, we were talking about animated sitcoms, and Nathan's like, oh, that needs to make a comeback. I forgot to talk about Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that point, Bob's
Yeah.
Burgers. I've never watched it, but it
It's
ticks all
amazing.
the boxes that I was
you would like
complaining
it.
about.
It's
yeah.
very funny, and the movie came out recently, which is also good. But that brings me to a point, is like, I feel like even though we're a bit looser and we've embraced that kind of banter and tangents, I feel like we're still not where we need to be in the show, and I still feel like our off-air conversations are funnier and better than our on-air conversations.
I mean, look, we were talking before the show, and I think a lot of the reason for that is the fact that we're a little bit limited being a live radio show as well.
Yeah.
And we just can't escape that.
Yeah, there's
certain things we can't say.
A lot of restrictions.
Certain language we can't use.
And there's also just a lot of technical difficulties and restrictions. And yeah, so I mean, I was talking about it with Callum and Nathan before the show, and yeah, we were just kind of brainstorming. It's like, how can we? Because I know I've been saying over the last few episodes, like, we're trying to get it to a certain point where it's like more free flowing and more loose. And I know like listeners are sick of me talking about this, but because I mean, I don't know if perfectionist is the right word, but I don't like putting my name on something. I don't like releasing a product that I don't think is up to snuff. And honestly, for the last like 6 years since the old show, or however long we've been doing this show, I've never thought it was up to my standards. And I know that's a lot to do with me being my own worst critic.
I think it is, and you also got to remember that this is not Triple J. This is not.
Yeah, it's not. It's
not
like I'm getting paid.
Yeah, no,
to this,
we are not.
It's just I've always been a person where I'm like, if I don't think something is good, I wouldn't want to be associated with it or whatever. And so I never that's why every time an episode would come out, even back in the old show, I would always be like to the audience, I'd be like, I'm not happy with this. We have too many problems. We need to fix this. And one of the reasons for that is because I wanted to let the audience know that it's just like, I knew that it wasn't up to scratch, but I think that's just me getting inside my own head.
I think so.
Well, look.
But anyway,
we've come a long way. We're still not hitting home runs every single time.
Yeah.
But I think that we have progressed. We have grown as an effort, as a podcast crew.
Yeah. But anyway, my point is, I was talking with the boys before the show.
There are ideas.
And yeah, we're gonna keep. We got some ideas. We're gonna try to keep trying to better ourselves.
I mean, that's the important thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, and so I think this will be the last time I talk about this stuff on air. So ever since the old show years and years ago, I've always been like because I want to be transparent with the audience. I want to be like, I want to let them know if we're having a problem, even though they don't want to hear it. And I don't like to pretend nothing's wrong.
It's a messy sausage to make with here.
And like sometimes it's fun to see like the behind the scenes, how the sausage is made. Sometimes it's not fun at all. But anyway, like this is the last time I'll bring it up. I promise.
Yeah, no. It's like, I think it's easy to compare yourselves to other podcasts, or it's easy for us to compare ourselves to other things. But again, we're not Joe Rogan, right? No one's getting paid millions of dollars. It's like, that's the other
but
thing.
he gets paid millions of dollars to do even a worse job than we do.
Yeah, I mean, but that's another thing, right?
He just has better guests.
That's another thing.
Actually, sorry, Rafal.
Rafal's not a guest. He's a guest.
No,
he's not in that sense.
He's a
hostage.
He's an audience member.
Yeah. But then again, right? So,
he's our live audience.
But that's another question.
Just clap when we make a joke. Yeah.
But that's another question entirely, right? How good would we be as interviewers if we had, someone who really knew what they were talking about on, or we had an expert or a special guest who was someone of stature? That's a different question. If you're getting paid to do that and you have 3.5 hours to ask all the important questions, that's different. How good is Joe Rogan as an interviewer? Well, I don't know. Like,
not that good.
Not that good, right? But that's neither here nor there. No. But I feel like also you just have to keep it in context of where we are as well.
Yeah, no. I get caught up in my own head, and I've always been the person who's like wanted to tell the listeners, like, I know, like, I'm going to do better because I don't want to put out something that I wouldn't, that's not, I don't think is good. But anyway, we're going to, behind the scenes, we'll keep working to get to where at least I want it to be. But I promise this will be the last time because, during our Nope review, I had like a mental breakdown. I'm like, what the hell is this? It's a movie review show where I don't even like reviewing the movies because we see the movie, then we talk about it, and then we go turn on the mics and start reviewing it, and we're just repeating ourselves from the other night when we saw the movie. And I'm like, what the hell are we even doing? And then we started talking about UFOs. I'm like, this is the best thing we've ever done. Yeah. And then last Tuesday we were talking about games and movies and shows, and I'm like, this is boring. And then on Saturday, the bonus episode, we're talking about politics, and I'm like, oh, this is actually something we're passionate about, and there's a topic. And so we need to get to that place where it's just like, I
mean, we're simple beings. You ask us what our favorite UFO is, and off we go.
Oh yeah. But anyway, this is the last time I'm bringing it up. I'm sorry to all the listeners.
We're working on it.
I promise this won't happen again. I just want to, put it out there. Like, we're still working behind the scenes to make this the best show that we can make it within the current circumstances and confines of the studio and so on. But
it is Spooktober.
It is Spooktober.
Get excited.
Spooky Halloween season.
We were lucky enough to see Smile on very short notice. Because apologies to Rafal, we saw it on very short notice. I would have texted you.
Well, we should say Smile is a new horror movie that just came out last week.
With very low budget kind of movie.
Yeah.
Relatively.
Not super low budget, but and it's just like, originally it was supposed to be a Paramount Plus streaming exclusive. And then I guess the reaction...
Well, from IMDb, they did a test screening. And the test screening was so overwhelmingly positive, they're just like, maybe we should release this in the theaters.
Yeah.
And they did, which is good.
We should also mention that, like, the Smile trailer and the marketing makes it look like one of those really dodgy kind of, like, B-grade, like... like Truth or Dare, those movies. The Bye Bye Man. Like this, like these crappy horror movies.
The Bye Bye
Man's
not that bad.
Okay, I haven't seen it, so but
it's okay.
I still don't believe you.
I don't believe. But that kind of movie where it's just like dodgy slasher movie for teens, like they churn them out. You guys see a lot of these movies you guys see Paranormal Activity 17 and
it's been a while.
The Conjuring 17.
We haven't seen horror movies in a long time. Unfortunately,
I'm just saying is like
but I didn't see the last Annabelle.
No, me neither. No.
Yeah, but that's.
But generally, that's
a movie. And
we did before COVID destroyed Hollywood.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is usually you guys would see that, and you'd always message me and goes, do you want to see Annabelle 3D?
And you're like, throw up emoji.
Yeah, I'd be like, no, thank you. As much as I love horror movies, most of them are crap and they're cheap and Hollywood just churns them out. And you guys have always been like, oh, we'll go anyway. So when you guys are like, we're going to see Smile, I had already heard on the interwebs that it was actually not as bad as it looked.
I went in knowing nothing.
Yeah, me too, which was the best way.
Yeah, which is the best way to do it. And if you're listening to this and don't know about Smile, don't watch the trailer. There's spoils too much.
Don't listen to this review.
Don't listen to this review, definitely. We're not going to spoil it right now, but eventually we will. But yeah. So like you guys were like, do you want to see it? I'm like, look, I heard it's not bad, but I don't really want to spend the money.
Yeah.
So you guys went with Alum to see it.
Yeah.
And then the next day, you're like, you have to see it. It's really good.
I was shook. It was that good.
Yeah.
I was genuinely surprised.
No, we left the movies, and I said to Nathan, I'm like, I can count on like one hand the amount of times I've left a horror movie from the cinemas with my adrenaline pumping like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's rare. Because usually when we go to see these horror movies, like you said, most of them aren't very good.
Yeah.
So you get a few really cheap thrills.
Yeah.
A few cheap jump scares. And you're like, oh, look, it's a scary looking nun. And then they're defeated with the power of Christ or whatever. And everyone leaves.
Yeah.
But, you go there for the popcorn and the experience and the jump scares. And, it's funny to watch Christian jump out of his seat at something dumb. But yeah, no, it was, like you said, like I knew that the marketing was bad because I saw the trailer one time and I forgot about it completely. It's like, it's like an AI generated art house, just like it blends into like the one thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't care. But then I started people talk about it online.
I
They're like,
did hear.
actually awesome. Really good reviews and
But
stuff.
then again,
Surprisingly.
I never really take into account.
That's also true. We're often on the wrong side of history on this show.
Well,
Actually, the right side of history.
Everyone
wrong
else is
side-
on the wrong side.
Wrong side of media critics.
Yeah.
Other media critics.
What's my slogan? We have the hottest takes and with the rightest takes, the correct takes.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
We're always right, no matter what.
Yeah, we are. But yeah, I messaged you straight away. I'm like, it goes bananas. You got to go watch it.
Yeah, and I was just like, yeah, I'll see it when it comes out on streaming. Like, it'll be fine. Like, it's not something I have to run and see. Then, like, I saw you guys, and you're like, oh my god, this, that, and I'm like, okay, maybe. I looked at my phone. I'm like, okay, there's like an 11:40 a.m. session.
It was really funny because there was one session. The session we went to, it was 9:30 at night. I don't know, Friday or whatever it was.
Yeah,
that was it. And then we saw you on Saturday morning, and there was like 4 or 5 more.
They
sessions.
had updated it. Yeah. But it's just like, okay, if I leave now, I can go and see it, and then shut you guys up. And so I went to see it on my own on like Saturday morning. There was only like 2 other people in the cinema. And I was like, oh, it's actually pretty good movie.
Yeah.
Some really good spoops, some really good scares. And yeah, it's like Callum said, it's like actually affecting.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the movie, I was like, oh, that was a bit disturbing.
It was a bit intense.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I think it was said to you as well when I've seen it. It's like you don't really get horror movies made like this anymore. There's the psychological.
You do, but not this effective and well directed and well done.
Because like a large part of the movies sort of scares the psychological.
Actually, no, that's a good point. It's listed on Hoyt as a drama, and I thought that was funny. Then I saw the movie, and even though there's a lot of jump scares and really crazy, creepy stuff, it's mostly like a psychological drama.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like,
there's a lot of tension. It's all psychological.
Yeah.
There's a lot of...
It's an hour and 50...
It's a psychological thriller.
It's an hour and 55 minutes, which is not long, but it's like...
For this type of horror film, it's on the longer side.
It's not just a 90-minute like cheap slasher movie.
Yeah.
Like it's more about the
takes the
main
time it
character.
needs,
It's like
the investigation.
It's a slow breakdown, basically. It was like
psychological breakdown.
One of the things I said to James when I messaged him, I'm like, it's like the Babadook was infused with Jacob's Ladder. And you didn't get that message because I think
I got them. Okay, so here's another spooky Halloween, Spooktober coincidence. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and you had sent it to me at like midnight because you just had finished seeing the movie, and I didn't. Obviously, I was asleep. I wake up 5:30, and I see the message, and I read it, like through squinted, sleep-filled eyes, and I'm like, oh, that's funny, and then I put my phone down, and I went back to sleep, and then I got up at like 9:30 or whatever, and I look at my phone, and the message is gone.
Yeah,
there's nothing. Woo! Yeah. And I'm like looking everywhere. I'm like, I'm trying to update my phone, and I'm like, no. And I'm like, did I imagine a very specific Callum-esque message from Callum in the middle of the night? And then I saw you, and I'm like, look, it's not here.
Yeah, I sent it.
Like, did the smile monster like eat the message? Like, what the hell?
Who's to say?
Yeah, but
there's a lot of tension in this movie that I feel like most horror movies don't really go for anymore.
Yeah, it's like a
outside
horror
of
movie.
cheap jump scares.
Yeah, it's not a slasher movie. It's
No.
not a monster movie. It's not a. It's like a psychological drama. It's more about the tension and the investigation. The main character trying to figure out what's happening to her.
The really interesting thing is that it's like you got the supernatural element on the top, where like the most visible part.
Yeah.
But it's like literally about a woman's complete nervous breakdown, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the interesting part. It's like you got the supernatural stuff invading a breakdown, so you don't know what's real. So it's like unreliable.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
Narration, kinda. It's an unreliable
Yeah, you don't
reality.
know if she's crazy or if there is
And
actually
that's
an
why I was
entity, an evil entity.
That's why it reminded me of Jacob's Ladder, because that's like that blurring of reality and
what's real and
unreality,
what's not,
which
yeah.
is not something that we see enough of now. Like, I remember, because I'd never seen Jacob's Ladder before you told me to watch it.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
And I watched it, and I was
Yeah.
like, wow, that's really innovative.
Yeah.
It's also the first movie to have the shaky head scare.
Yeah, that it did it before it became cheesy and
Yeah.
overdone. Like when Jacob's Ladder does it, it's like, oh, that's disturbing.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to see like every time the woman in the protagonist, I can't remember her name.
Rose.
Dr.
Rose.
Every time she meets someone, it's like, are they actually present? Is it going to be the
Is she a
entity?
doctor? Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it going to be an entity pretending to be that person?
Yeah.
Like, it's really interesting kind of
I think.
dual layer thing. It was so cool.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, the marketing does a disservice to this movie. The fact that it's called Smile and
It's
it's like
dumb,
about
yeah.
a creepy smile, like an evil entity that
you see
smiles
the
at
movies.
you.
You see the movie's poster. You read the whatever it is, and you
Yeah.
have an image in your head.
Yeah, you're
right?
like, this is going to be
As
a
you said,
crappy
it's closer to
slasher
the Empty
movie.
Man or
No,
the
Empty
Empty
Man's
Man's
a
good.
great movie.
the
Yeah,
Empty
that's
Man,
awesome.
the
will-
Bye Bye Man.
Bye Bye Man, yeah. Like, it's like, oh, is this like a Slender Man
Yeah.
thing? It's like, yeah, it looks, what was that movie? Is it called The Smiley Face Killer or Smiley Face?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do,
It's like
yeah.
that cheesy, like, oh, this is going to be a bad slasher movie.
A dumb film, yeah.
That's what it looks like. And then we watched it, and it's actually really well directed.
Yeah.
The score is really good.
Phenomenal, yeah.
Amazing.
The production design, like the color palette's really interesting. There's a lot of like weird pinks and greens, and the performances are really good, and it's like well edited and well paced.
Yeah, the editing is top notch.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. One of the ways that they depict the disjointed reality that the character's going through is she'll open a door and go somewhere else, only to find herself in a place she didn't expect. And it's like, oh, it's a simple trick, right?
It's been done before.
Yeah,
but
of course. But it's like, but the way they handle it, it's really effective because she'll be trying to escape something, only to find herself looping.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that adds to the tension because she can't escape.
Yeah.
So you get this claustrophobic sense, well, from her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a claustrophobia
She
kind
can't
of terror
escape.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also because the director, this is his first feature film. He's done 2 short films.
He hasn't been jaded yet by the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's done 2 short films, one of which is the basis for this movie. It's like, this is like the
The feature-length version.
Yeah, the feature-length version of his last short film. And because this was originally supposed to be a Paramount Plus streaming exclusive,
He probably had more freedom.
perhaps, but also I'm surprised they gave it a bit of a budget and it looks as good as it does. And
Yeah.
it's,
I think
you know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
think that he,
Like, you'd think if it's just a streaming exclusive,
Yeah.
they'd just be like, here's a couple bucks, let's get some.
I mean,
But
it's
the
also
fact is, like,
right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Because the movie was made for Paramount Plus, right? Which is still trying to establish itself.
Yeah.
So I think
True.
it's more of a case of right place, right time. If it was on Netflix, it wouldn't have gone anywhere.
yeah, that
Yeah,
would
yeah.
that would have interfered too much because we'll get to some of the interesting artistic decisions they made later.
Yeah.
But I think it's because it's on Paramount, or like a newer one of the newer streaming services, that it's sort of
They wanted
they wanted to give it some
Yeah.
budget to attract people.
Yeah.
It's not so much about we're
and-
hitting our quotas for new content this week, sort of.
And I guess they probably saw the short film and were like, oh, let's give this guy a bit of money to make a feature version for our streaming platform. And then when the reaction was so positive, they're like, maybe we should release this at the cinema. Whereas, yeah, if it was just on Netflix, they wouldn't have funded it in the first place, or they would have just,
CG'd everything.
yeah, or just,
Yeah,
they,
I think it's also a testament to the director and his team, like his producers, of like understanding how to use the budget they had effectively.
Yeah.
Because you can give a terrible director $1 billion and they'll still make probably a terrible film. It'll just, it'll all be CG, let's be honest. But
Yeah.
still, like, 17 million's a lot to people in this studio, certainly. But it's not a
Well-
lot when you look at big Hollywood numbers when they're comfortable spending $100 million on something that's going to look terrible.
Yeah, we talked about it. It's like most movies now are either too expensive or not expensive enough.
Yeah.
Like there's no mid-budget movies anymore. And I don't think I would call this a mid-budget movie because
No.
$17 million is still
It's
low.
relatively, for Hollywood standards,
But
it's quite low.
for what they did with it, it's
Well,
pretty good effort.
what I thought was fascinating was one of the things I told you before you'd seen it was they didn't really use CGI until they had to in
Yeah.
the very climax of the final
Yeah.
arc. And I'm like, so the rest of the time,
think-
they're just using sets. They're just using a lot of the terror is conveyed through the score as well as the editing
Yeah.
and the, what
The
you actually
sound
see.
design, yeah.
But I'm like, that's where their effectiveness lies in their ability to weave all the elements together, so they can have a smaller budget, sure, but they know how to
They
use what
use it
they've got.
effectively,
Yeah.
And that's a good point as well. Is like the practical effects are actually really well done, and like it mostly focuses on that.
Yeah, because like Nathan was saying, it's more about the all of the scary, spoopy stuff that you see. It's all very human related. It's people who
Yeah.
aren't really there and that type of thing, which is easy to do when you've got actors. You know, you're like, you
Yeah.
have a person in front of you,
And
you pick
they-
up the phone and that's that person's voice, and you're like, ooh.
Yeah, and exactly, they use simple but effective techniques.
Yeah.
Because they definitely could have like CGI'd the smiles on the actor's face, and it would have been cheesy and it would have been awful, but they don't, and that that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and the psychological aspect just makes you nervous anyway.
Helps, yeah. It's a really surprisingly
a good start.
a really good movie, and I would keep an eye on the director. Parker Finn is his name.
Also, one thing I thought you probably want to discuss as well in relating to practical effects while we're on the topic. I said to me on Saturday, you didn't know how they...
Oh wait, do we? Is this a spoiler?
No, but there's not really a spoiler. I wasn't going to spoil anything. I'm just saying we'll say a creature in a house.
Okay,
and it's a matter
perspective.
It's perspective or CG. We're not sure, and that's a good mark of
Craftsmanship.
I guess.
Especially for me who hates CG and is very like allergic to it. And
If James can be like, oh, I'm not sure if that's a guy.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's someone in a small house or like
I'm like,
CG
how did
monster
they
in a
make?
big group.
Yeah, I'm like, how do they? I'm like, some of that CGI, but not all of it is.
Yeah.
So I want to see the behind the scenes. Actually, I want to see this movie on 4K. I think it would look really nice, and I would. Now that I've seen it once, I can watch it with a more critical eye and see all the background things that I missed. You know. So I'd be keen to rewatch it. It was just if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Smile, don't watch the trailers.
Yeah,
Go in
ignore-
blind,
The
yeah.
Ignore
trailers
the
don't do
marketing.
justice.
Don't
to
read anything about
Yeah.
it. If you like scary movies, if you don't mind being jump scared a lot, there's a lot of jump scares in this movie,
Yeah.
right? It's almost a 2-hour movie. There's a jump scare like every 5 minutes. I don't really like jump scares because I think they're cheap. They're cheap. It's a cheap way to scare someone. Oh, loud noise. It's like, well, you didn't actually earn that, right?
it. Yeah.
This movie has a lot of them.
Some of them are earned, some of them are not.
Yeah. And a lot, like for the first hour, I'm like just checking my watch. I'm like, okay, guy,
Yeah.
like you're not gonna get me, guy.
Everyone wants to be
and
David.
then
Everyone
you
wants to.
shit yourself.
Everybody wants
Yeah.
to be Mulholland Drive. No one wants to put in the work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, there were maybe 3 or 4 times where it got me. I'm like, okay, you got me.
There was
Okay.
one scene,
But-
there was one scene that involved a car.
Yeah.
That Alan.
There's 2 scenes that involve the car, both of which got me the jump scared.
Well, one of them, I won't
Yeah.
say which, got Alan, who's not here this week.
Yeah.
He was sitting next to me, being like, "This movie's not going to get me." Being
Yeah.
like toxic masculinity
Yeah.
personified.
Oh,
And then this scene happened, and he was like, "Oh god!" And he like jumped in his seat, and he's like, "It got me, damn it!"
Like I'm not one of those people who's like I never get scared. You can't
Yeah.
jump scare. I'm not one of those people. But for a lot of the jump scares, I was just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But then 3 or 4, I was like, damn, you got me. That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really enjoyable and actually scary and effective.
Yeah.
And well directed and
Yeah.
well executed.
Yeah, I
Even
mean-
though not everything in the movie is 100% the most original thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's like everything there was well executed. and I'll be interested to see it again, and I'll be interested to see the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I'll be keeping an eye on the writer-director Parker Finn for his next
Before we
project.
move on to spoilers,
Yeah.
one of the things that I actually really liked about this film was that it does something we don't see that often in modern horror movies, where it has a detective element. Like, back in the 90s horror movies, or I should say thriller movies, whatever.
Yeah.
You'd get some guy investigating things, and there's a paper trail, and there's
That's a good point.
and like we kind of got a little bit of that in this film, where one of the characters is a detective who's, along with the protagonist, are trying to figure this thing out.
Figure out the mystery.
Yeah, and I like, retracing steps, paperwork, CCTV footage. I love that stuff.
Because the marketing makes it look like one of those crappy slasher movies where it's a bunch of teens are going to get taken out one by one by a smiley face killer. But because the movie's more psychological, and there is that investigation element, and it is quite long. It's a slow burn, especially the first half.
I love it when they interview a prison inmate at a certain point in the film, and I'm like, I love that stuff.
It's like this movie's like The Ring.
Yeah,
it's like she's investigating the curse.
That's an excellent comparison.
It has more in
It's
common
very
with
similar.
The Ring than it doesn't. I didn't think about that.
It's very similar. It's like more actually a slow burn, like 2 hour
there's like that
supernatural
kind of
mystery.
There's the countdown element. There's like the
the 7 days.
Yeah, there's like the 7 days element. There's the transmission kind of element.
the curse. Yeah,
Again, the investigation.
yeah.
So it's like it's very very 90s feeling in that way, where
It does,
which I mean, to us in this room, we're all nostalgia nerds. Let's be honest.
Not just nostalgia.
The 90s was such a special time for movies and horror movies.
Yeah.
So it leans into that style of storytelling.
Yeah.
Which improves the effectiveness, because you can have all the horror you want.
Exactly.
But if it's not a well-told story, why should anybody care about it?
Like, I think I just mentioned a few minutes ago where I was just like watching it, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of just like a drama.
Yeah.
Like, you could remove the supernatural element,
and it still kicks ass.
It's like a psychological thriller or psychological drama, and it's still really good.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it engaging. Because if it was just as much as I love cheesy slasher movies, if it was just another one of those, probably wouldn't have been as effective.
See, the movie does offer something new. Obviously, it's rooted in, we'll say, classic tropes.
Yeah.
But it's something we haven't seen it in a while.
There's one jump scare, which we'll talk about in spoilers later, which I think is the one that got Alum, that I was like, I don't think I've seen that, at least not done in that exact way, or done that well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be back after this short break with spoilers. You are back on the Tuesday review, talking about Smile. So listeners just had our
Smiles.
Smiles.
It's not a good title for
It's not.
I guess for a horror movie, it's like ironic or whatever, and it makes sense for the movie. But yeah, for the marketing, it's like not.
It's not a good title. We could come up with a better
It makes
title.
it sound cheap.
Yeah.
Which is why when you watch it, it's actually good.
So listeners, we just had our sort of spoiler-free review. Now we're going to go straight into spoilers. So spoiler warning for Smile.
Yes, major spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Smile, I recommend, if you like horror movies, if you don't mind being jump scared, if you don't mind a bit of spoopiness.
Well, I think we're going to talk spoilers, but our spoilers probably also won't ruin the movie if you are listening on the fence.
But I think for this kind of movie, it's like there are moments where I feel like, especially jump scares, where I'm like, you shouldn't know. That's why I say don't watch the trailer, because I've heard there are a bit. I don't think I ever watched the trailer, but I heard that it spoils too many of the good jump scares.
I didn't watch the trailer. I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't.
I don't remember it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Smile, please, we're gonna spoil it, so please watch it if you plan.
If you're on the fence, just stop the episode, pause it, go see it, and then
because we're not only going to talk about the lore and the mystery and reveal all the secrets of the supernatural element, but there's also like actual jump scares that I feel like are better if you don't know where they are or what's going to happen. Okay, spoiler alert. Major spoiler warning for Smile.
I will say
we need a sound effect.
Yeah, we do. We need a sound effect.
Well, it's up to Nathan if he wants to edit one in.
a little.
This is why I stopped. A horn. Remember when we used to have the Last Jedi alarm? Where it's like, don't mention it because then I have to edit it in. And then after a while, I was like, I'm not editing anymore. It's like, it only took me 30 seconds, but it's too much.
So Callum, let's just start with a little quick round to table here. What's your favorite jump scare in this movie?
No, we should talk about the actual
the actual one that got Alum.
Yeah,
the car one.
Yeah.
Well, so the one with the sisters approaching the car?
Yeah.
That was cool.
They have a conversation.
Oh my god.
They have a conversation because the sister is obviously aware that the protagonist is losing her mind.
Yeah.
At this point in the movie.
Protagonist Rose It's like being followed by this smile entity,
entity
evil
who can
entities.
take the form of anybody.
Yeah,
And it's since it like infests your mind.
yeah.
It's not physically present, but you can see it, but other people can't. So she doesn't know who's like what's real, what's
Yeah.
not. So that's like the psychological element we were referring to before,
Yeah.
because she can't trust her senses anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her mother dealt with similar problems which is implied
Yeah.
at the beginning of the film.
But as far as we know, the mother was just mentally ill,
Yes.
which is why Rose thinks she just might be going
That's
crazy,
right,
and
which
the,
is
the entity doesn't
Exists.
exist.
The argument between the mother and the mother.
The sister.
Rose and her sister takes place before this
Yeah.
this scene. So she goes back to her car, being upset over the result of the
yeah,
argument.
Rose is in her car and
And the sister approaches. You never see the sister's face. Right? It's
Yeah.
kind of just like a body.
and you think because
neck
of the movie, the entity uses other people but has them like evilly smiling.
Yeah.
And so you think like she's gonna bend down and be smiling or something, or
She does,
she's gonna
yeah.
break the window, smash the window open or something like that. But
But her head
not
like
prepared.
swings down.
Yeah, she's standing straight up, and you can't see because she's like up against the car, so you can only see like up to her chest,
yeah.
and then like her head, like her neck, like twists down and fall like
Kind of falls on like
folds, yeah.
on a 180-degree
yeah,
angle.
flops down in front of her chest, in front of the window. And
Amazing.
Rose is like, and I was like,
And
damn, you got me.
We saw it. It was pretty full.
Yeah,
Our
cinema
theater was
packed.
pretty full.
You guys saw it probably the best way with
Yeah.
a big
A
audience.
full audience, and everybody screamed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had like ladies in the background being like, ah!
Yeah.
Every time anything happened, these people were like
Yeah.
screaming.
Do you guys know the Japanese horror author Junji Ito?
Yes.
I've heard yes.
He that is a very Junji Ito image.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
And I was like, damn, that's cool.
Yeah.
And what I like about it as well is it only lasts like a split second. They
Yeah.
don't zoom in on the head.
Because it'll look
They
flubbery.
don't-
Yeah.
They don't do anything.
It's kind of blurry a little.
She's standing there, the head flops down, and it's like, bah!
cuts,
And then
yeah.
it cuts. And then
And
she
then-
realizes
yeah,
it
what I
wasn't
love
real. And I
is
was like,
it cuts to Rose's nephew watching from the
As
window
she's, like,
as she's
screaming.
like
Yeah.
And she's
screaming,
screaming in the car, but no
And
one else is there.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of hilarious.
That poor nephew. I was
Yeah.
sitting next to Alan right for this scene before. Like, there's a party scene.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
another
was one of my
jump scare that got
favorite
me.
moments
Yeah.
in the movie. Not just for the jump,
Yeah.
but for that whole scene.
That whole sequence
so
is
that's-
excellent.
She kills her cat and puts it in the present box with his kid.
But she doesn't know.
But she doesn't know. That's right.
Yeah.
The smile wants to do
It's
it.
her nephew's birthday. He's like, what, 6, 7 years
Yeah.
old?
And so
then-
she thinks she's wrapping an electric train kit for him
Yeah.
or something.
And anyway,
They're like surrounded by all his family and friends.
And,
He's opening the gift that his aunt has given him.
and we thought it was amazing because at the start the kid's like gracias, and Alan's like, this kid deserves whatever's coming to him because it was just being mean. Like,
I thought he was talking to his friend who was Hispanic.
oh,
I
right,
thought he was.
okay.
I thought he was trying to be.
I thought he was just
inclusive.
being like weird, kind of just being like,
Yeah.
telling people. Oh,
But I know
gracias,
people who
gracias.
do that, who say
Yeah.
gracias even though they're not.
Yeah.
Anyway, for whatever reason, Alan's like, this kid deserves whatever's coming to him, right?
Yeah,
And
but
he's just
Alan,
been mean.
Alan
Yeah.
always hates everyone.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was funny, and then obviously he pulls a dead cat out of the present,
Yeah,
and I'm just like,
Everyone's
oh my
screaming.
god.
yeah.
I was
And
so
then-
uncomfortable.
And then it gets even better because she
Oh.
suplexes herself into the
because
table.
it's such a great performance as well. Because like at that point, she's already been tormented by
Yeah,
the
yeah.
evil entity, and she's like, I promise it wasn't me.
Yeah, I'm not crazy.
Yeah, I'm not crazy, please. And she's like pleading, and then she sees one of the smile entity
Peoples, yeah.
people in the corner, and she's like, it's there, it's real. Like, can't anyone see it? Please help me. And everyone's just looking at it
Yeah,
like, oh
well,
my god.
I mean, can you blame him?
Yeah.
I'd be like, it's
Yeah.
the
No.
whole scene is horrific
but
to watch.
just that was so
Yeah.
affecting. It was just
Yeah.
like, oh my god. And
This poor woman.
yeah, and then she stumbles back into like a glass coffee table.
But really kind of
oh no!
forcefully.
Before the stumble, that's another jump scare that got me. Is
Oh, the
smiley face
the
entity
zoom.
pops up in front
Yeah.
of her, and that's why she's startled and falls back into the coffee table. And then she's like covered in glass and all cut open. She's screaming. I'm like, holy shit, this movie's awesome.
Yeah, it goes hard. That's what I messaged you. It goes hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't pull any punches, and I think that's what makes it so great. It's like the director was like, "This
I
is what we're gonna lean
this is
into what
not-
we're trying to do." So it's not like
Yeah,
I suppose that I meant to mention to you when we saw it. Sorry, James.
no, that's all right.
Do you think the fact that they didn't put it on a streaming platform meant that there were less cooks in the kitchen?
The fact that it was made for streaming, you mean?
Yeah,
The
that's what I
fact
meant.
that-
Sorry, I'm like, do you think that there was just less studio interference? They're like, okay, well,
I think because it's
see
not
how you go.
it's not unusual for a horror movie to be written and directed by one person. In the last 10 years, it's not super unusual for a horror movie to be written directed by one guy. It's not even unusual for it to be based on a like Lights Out. Do you guys remember Lights Out?
Yes.
That was
That was pretty good.
That was based on a short film.
Yeah.
Written by director. Was it David Sandberg? What
I'll
was
look
his
it up.
name?
I'll look it up. Yeah, I remember that movie.
He wrote. Yeah, he
Yeah.
wrote and directed the short, and then from that he was able to make the feature film.
Yeah.
So it's like this is not an unusual.
Yeah, David F.
occurrence.
Sandberg.
Yeah, it was. Who he ended up doing Shazam, didn't he? Was that him?
What a genius.
Maybe. Let's see.
I think it was.
Go to his IMDb page.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
He did, yeah. So, but like that was one of his earlier movies.
Yeah.
It's like he did the short film, and then they're like, "Hey, let's
Yeah.
give this guy." But that movie's like lower budget and smaller.
Yeah.
It's not as good as this as Smile, I think.
No.
But like, it's not unusual. But I think the fact that it does look as good as it does, and it's as well executed as it is, that's what's unusual.
Definitely.
Because Lights Out was, something just to pick on it because I brought it up. That's a perfectly fine, well done movie. But yeah, it's not. I guess the budget
it doesn't
is smaller,
have the
so they have less
it
to
doesn't
work
have the
with.
psychological intensity that this one does.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah, Lights Out was a little more of a kind of just like a straight, just
Yeah.
modern
Yeah.
horror film. This is a bit more psychological.
And the fact that Parker Finn did write and direct it, it definitely feels like okay, there's less cooks in the kitchen. There's like okay, this guy wanted to make a movie, and was lucky enough and talented enough to do it in a way where.
I don't mean to hate on Netflix because I did at one point love them very deeply.
Yeah.
But I feel like we said before, if it was made for Netflix, they would have had a checklist. We need you to hit these beats, or we want you to include this.
It's a big problem.
So it's good that Paramount seem to have taken the approach where they're like, okay, we trust you, because that's what I feel from this film is that they trusted the team.
again,
to make the
I reckon
movie.
it's just right place, right time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Paramount's early on enough in its sort of
And-
like in its business here with Paramount Plus as a streaming service that it's trying to get maybe it's trying to get quality over quantity at the moment, just to establish itself with originals.
Maybe, yeah.
No, the Apple approach.
Yeah.
And I think the luxury of horror movies is because they are cheap and they are generally successful and they make a lot of money considering the small budgets they have.
Yeah.
It's probably less of a risk for the studio than
Especially if it's only $17 million, like Paramount.
yeah.
And
because there are a lot of these horror movies are PG-13. Like all the Insidious movies and all the Annabelles and Conjurings and a lot of them, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like those movies can still be scary. But we always talk about they don't make R-rated movies for adults anymore. But horror movies are still the only genre where it's it's okay to have an R-rated movie because it's horror and it's still going to make money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did appreciate that this was R and it had.
And it's already made its money back as well. If it cost 17 million, it's made 22 million at the box office so far.
The word of mouth I feel like would be quite strong because, based on the marketing, you'd shrug your shoulders. But from even before you guys saw it, I heard, hey, it's actually not bad. Hey, it's actually pretty well done. This kind of movie is not your typical crappy slasher. And then you guys saw it, I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. And then I saw it, I'm like, hey, it's actually pretty good.
I think the worst part of this movie was the dialogue. I think it was
It's
a bit
clunky.
It's a bit clunky.
Yeah.
There's a lot of exposition.
Not so much that. Well, how do you think it approached the theme of mental illness? Right. I thought it was a little bit ham-fisted myself.
I feel that's one of my problems with the movie is because she's a therapist who works with people who are in a very fragile, volatile...
like an emergency psychologist.
Yeah, she's in the emergency psychiatric wing of a hospital.
Yeah.
So she deals with very volatile people and more extreme cases of mental illness. The fact that there wasn't more build-up of her thinking this is like actually just a psychological break.
Yeah.
And like, there's a scene where she goes to her therapist and is like, "Can you please put me on?" I can't remember the
specific
medication.
drug, yeah.
And the therapist is like, "No, I think it's too early to do that." The fact that there wasn't a scene where she tried to self-medicate.
Yeah.
I have a feeling there's a lot of deleted scenes because the movie's already almost 2 hours, which again isn't long, but for a horror movie, commercial horror movie, they probably want to keep it shorter.
I'd be interested to see like a director's cut.
I have a feeling there's a longer cut of like more scenes of her trying to deal with
psychoanalyze her.
Yeah, because if you're a therapist and you see something crazy,
you probably know
you
the
probably
techniques.
you probably wouldn't automatically be like, "That's a ghost." But this movie is like, even though it's like there's an hour before things really get more crazy, like the hour is still like there's not a lot of her going like, "I think this is just related to my mother's mental illness." Or something. There could have been more of that.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it was very cheesy and ham-fisted with. I feel like everybody was using the kind of dialogue of, "Hey, what are you, crazy? How are you?"
Yeah.
Like, I was like, "Oh, come on, they can't have better dialogue."
That's an old trope of like, no one, you can see, you can see the paranormal entity, but no one else can, and no one believes you. And it's been done a million times.
I feel like just everyone was using the problematic dialogue on purpose the
especially
whole movie.
Especially because she's a mental health professional. And she's in a world of mental health professionals.
And everyone's using
condescending.
Dialogue
Everyone's
that
like,
wouldn't get approved. Like,
what are you, crazy?
I just feel like they're all doctors in this hospital using language that they wouldn't use in real life. You know what I mean?
So
they would be more professional.
Yeah, it's not it doesn't ruin the movie or anything.
No, it's just a little nitpick.
It's a bit clunky when character, especially like if she was not a doctor, it would automatically alleviate a lot of those problems because she's not used to it.
Yeah.
But I think because she's in that world...
Yeah, definitely.
It's...
Yeah.
They could have done maybe a bit more nuance. And some of the dialogue
they could have
is
cleaned
clunky.
up the dialogue.
Especially with her and her fiancé. This is all clunky kind of...
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And he did the correct thing and basically bailed on her as soon as it started hitting the fan, which I approved of.
Because he didn't have any commitment to her, you know? Like,
no, but I approve of, like, it's a horror movie. Usually it's like, for instance, the husband would have been the first to die from whatever possesses her, right? In that kind of, generally, it's the one closest to them and there'll be something will happen, whatever. He's just like, nah, it's getting weird, I'm out, see ya.
No, but I think that was part of it. It's like he knew her mother had a history of mental illness, and as soon as she's like, "Hey, I'm not doing well,"
I might have killed the cat and traumatized my nephew.
Mustache.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm out." I'm like, they could have done a bit of a better job with that. I think. I don't know.
An extra 5 minutes of maybe just the boyfriend. Thinking about stuff or trying to work through it would have helped a lot. Because I think we didn't get enough of his side of the story. Because it's like that's not the point of the film.
Yeah,
the point of the film is it's through Rose's perspective.
Yeah,
but I think that we could have used just a little bit extra with their dynamic to see why he goes to that place where he's like, I have to leave. It's like, I mean, maybe him looking at blood from the cat, for example, or maybe like something broken in the house, and he's like, how can I trust her?
It is interesting that like he just disappears at the end of the movie, pretty much. He doesn't get killed.
It's because he had to film The Boys season 3.
Yeah, it's Jesse T. Usher.
Season 4.
Season 4, sorry.
Yeah. A-Train. Yeah. It's nice to see him not play an arsehole, but then I guess he is at the end.
It's shades of grey.
Yeah.
Shades of grey, yeah.
Man, he was nice at the start.
When your man's life, when the man's life is kind of like maybe a little bit in danger, he has every right to be like, I think I better leave.
Because if he stayed, he could have got damaged or could have been passed on
Look,
to
man,
him.
I'm just saying is your girlfriend kills the cat and gives it to your nephew as a birthday present.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if I'd
say.
I
wouldn't say.
On the relationship subreddit.
Yeah.
Am I the asshole?
I don't think he is in this case.
Yeah.
But look, shades of course there's shades of grey.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I guess the writing didn't really give him justice in, as Callum said, we could have used maybe a few more minutes of like relationship counselling or just working through issues.
That'd
be
be an interesting way to look at it. That'd be, relationship counselling. Then she could be like, why? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, and it could have just been like, we had a scene or two of him like trying to help her and she was resistant.
Well, he did set up the meeting with the therapist. So he kind of tried, and then she freaked out.
Yeah, but it sort of ended very
understandably from her, though. To be fair,
I think also because there's the cop character, and
the
then
ex, yeah.
yeah, and it's like who's her ex-boyfriend, and then like that kind of takes over the rest of the movie. And I'm like, maybe there needs to be a converging of those two plot lines. It's like her fiance and her ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, they could have had a meeting, and it could have been just
not necessarily that, but
like
yeah.
it could have been like, look, you know, are you going to be able to help her?
Because
right at
the end, when she confesses to her ex-boyfriend, she's like, oh, you know, I shut people out because I'm afraid or whatever, and then it turns out it's a dream, and the evil entity's still there, and yeah, there's not a real resolution to her relationship. It's not a big deal. It's just
it's just a little.
It's a nitpick,
a thread.
Yeah, thread they could have picked up and
then closer to the end of the movie, you know, she reaches her, I guess she understands by the end of the movie that to pass on the curse, she has to transmit it to someone else.
So the evil entity kills itself in front. It possesses people.
Well, it uses trauma to survive.
Yeah, but it possesses someone, and then after no more than 7 days, sometimes less, it'll
take over your body.
It'll take over your body and commit suicide.
Yeah.
In front of someone else and transmit that through trauma. Yeah. Transmit itself to the next person.
Yeah.
And the only way, and Rose discovers the only way to get rid of the curse or to get rid of the entity is to kill someone else in front of someone else
to pass on the trauma.
So the trauma is that third person. The monster goes to...
But it has to be grisly enough to traumatize them.
Yeah. So which I did like the scene where she goes to the hospital with the knife. And she goes into the patient's room. And she just starts stabbing him crazy. And I'm like, whoa, this movie went for it.
And he's like yelling back and he enjoys it.
He starts laughing.
He starts, and they're like yelling. And then Cal Penn comes in, the head doctor.
The head doctor, yeah.
And he's like, what are you doing? And they're like, and everyone's screaming. And she's saying, I'm like, oh, I love this movie. It went crazy. And then like he rips his face off and he's like, And I'm like, oh, this is great. And then she wakes up and it's
and then he gets a jump scare for good measure.
Yeah. And I was just like, this is not necessarily a criticism of Smile. But it's a criticism of a lot of horror movies where it's just like, oh, this is crazy, jump scare, but it was all a dream.
Yeah.
This movie does that a lot of fake outs. It's not necessarily criticism. It happens in a lot of horror movies. But there was that moment where she's stabbing the guy to get rid of the curse.
They do that a lot.
And I was
kind of
like,
film.
if this movie goes there, it would be my favorite. But the fact that then she wakes up and it's not, I'm like, okay, fair enough. But then there is another jump scare when she's driving away in the car and the guy she just stabbed, like the face flashes up. I'm like, oh, you got me again. You bastard.
So she ends up, anyway, she ends up in, without spoiling the conclusion as such, she ends up in the shack where her mother died. Trying to confront her trauma.
Yeah, she figures if she's alone, then she can't kill herself in front of someone, transmit the curse.
And it's also the best place for her to come to terms with her demons.
Yeah, she goes to her childhood home
and we see the creature, I guess.
Yeah, the
her version of the
entity.
It turns from her mother into some sort
it takes form of her mother, and then it turns into this really tall, lanky,
gangly thing. It's awesome.
Which, have you guys seen It Follows?
No.
Because this movie has similar
vibes,
shades. Because It Follows has the monster that no one else can see that looks like normal people.
Yeah.
So that's part of the similarities. But also, there's like a bit where the monster in that movie is like really tall, and it was like super creepy. And then this movie does it as well, except it's more supernatural.
Again, testament to the fact that we're not sure if it was all CG
and
or not, or perspective.
Thing is, when it's like walking through the house, it's really tall, and I'm like, there's parts of it that it's like, okay, that's CGI, that didn't look so good. But then other parts of it, I'm like, did they film the actor on a small, reduced size set?
So Lord of the Rings tech coming back into fashion.
The Gandalf thing where she's like crawling through the house and she's like so big. I'm like, I want to see behind the scenes.
Yeah. I love the face of the creature. And I know you didn't particularly like it, but I was
No, what I was saying is...
It threw me back to The Exorcist.
When she looks like the mother with just like black eye makeup, I'm like, okay, this is a bit cheesy for my taste.
Yeah.
I mean, I like cheese, but not in
Not
this
that cheese.
specific.
Not this isn't Spielberg cheese.
Yeah.
This is different cheese.
Yeah, and then when she like rips her jaw open and
Yeah,
then
and the
she's like,
skin comes off.
yeah, and she's
Sick.
like the actual monster reveal. It's
Yeah.
the creature, the alien creature or whatever, the supernatural creature, and he's like got jaw upon jaw upon jaw, and then he possesses Rose.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That was cool.
Reminded me of The Taking of Deborah Logan. Did you ever see that one?
Is that the one with the old lady?
Yeah.
I did.
The jaw, only the way the mouth opens, I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
I see. I thought the movie was going to get your typical kind of Hollywood-ish ending, in which maybe the ex was going to shoot.
Well, that's the thing.
She manages to overcome the demons, and then the thing's like, no, I can't survive
she
a
realizes,
psychologically healthy individual.
Yeah, she realizes she if she's alone, the monster can't transmit itself.
Yeah.
Then she confronts her demons, her mother. Then she's like, and then she burns the monster, and she's like, yeah, I'm free. And she goes to her ex-boyfriend's house, and she confesses to him, I'm so sorry, like I shut you out, but everything's better now. And then it's like, oh no, that's all a dream, and she's still at the childhood home, and the monster is still alive. And that's normal for horror movies, where it's like, haha. But then when she gets possessed by the monster, and the ex-boyfriend actually does show up, it could have gone multiple ways. He could have shot her, and then technically the trauma wouldn't transmit, I guess. Well, it's kind of a grey area.
It depends on how traumatic shooting someone would be to.
Yeah, especially someone you
policeman.
love. Yeah, and like there was, other theory or whatever is that he would turn around, and then if she killed herself when she sets herself on fire, it's like technically he didn't witness it.
Yeah, that's
and it's like if he just gets in his car and drives away, that would still be traumatic, but not in the same way.
Yeah.
Like there was different ways you could have done it, but the fact that he just witnessed and it ends with that, it's a very horror movie ending. As like, oh, the cycle continues. Yeah. But I feel like for her character, she kind of gets her catharsis. She confronts her demons, and then she's like, and then the monster's like, too bad, you're dead anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, it's a horror movie. It's supposed to doesn't necessarily have to have a happy ending.
Yeah.
But I was like, I didn't know how I felt about that.
So I didn't hate it only because I think that there's so much meat on the bones still for us to pick at. So I thought it would be a really interesting idea if they decided to continue this story potentially
in a sequel.
Because in this movie sets up a kind of investigative journalism aspect of it where so this curse works via chains. So you inflict trauma on someone, they inflict trauma on someone, but because it's all suicides, there's a police record. So the detectives can actually track all of these down to the police database. So I thought it wouldn't it be an interesting idea if there was a movie or some type of continuation. Where it's because obviously the cop, he already knows the stakes. He's aware of the curse. So he knows I've got X amount of time. I have to track down whatever they decide to go with.
Yeah, a sequel with the cop as a protagonist having the infection, like starting with now he's got the
you can hit the ground running.
Yeah, and so okay, he knows he's got 7 days to get rid of it, and he knows at least partially the chain or the how it works. That would be an interesting. But I feel like if that never comes out, or
it's not a big deal,
and it shouldn't, we shouldn't have to watch a sequel.
No, it's still not a big deal. Yeah,
but I do think like, because I like when in horror movies when they don't explain a lot because it's more scary.
Yeah,
the more you explain it, the more you explain it, the less scary it gets.
That's also kind of why this works in a way, because we don't always know what's happening.
Yeah, but I do want to see them maybe do the lore, like flesh out the lore a bit more.
Like the Ring, kind of. Eventually, we find out more about the Ring.
Out more,
but it doesn't make the movies any cheaper.
I think like because she goes back far enough, like 20 deaths.
Yeah,
and so it's like.
That's how far she goes, but then there's other references to a chain going back like 100 years.
Well, that's what I thought.
There's like separate chains in Brazil.
Yeah, I thought she was gonna go. There was gonna be a point where she finds out that this curse goes back hundreds of years, and that the patient zero or whatever. Like that would be interesting, but that's just like because I like the lore aspect.
Yeah, well, this movie's good enough to stand on its own. But like I said, there's so much still left to explore that it might not be a terrible idea to get a little more.
But would they ruin it with the
That's
sequel?
what I was about
I
to
think,
say.
yeah,
though.
I feel like they would
it,
probably just
It
ruin it.
depends on the budget. It depends on the people involved. It depends on the platforms.
Especially because this movie was so surprisingly well done that if they kept doing other ones on they'd probably just turn into a crappy slasher movie, or it would probably just.
I'd only want.
It would lose its.
I'd only want the two though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just two, like similar budgets, similar style of filmmaking. Just
Maybe, yeah.
tell the tale you need to tell and then end it. You don't want to
Maybe.
end up with a Paranormal Activity like you referenced before, where there's like a dozen movies and then they end the main one and then they go off on spin-offs. Like I don't want any spin-offs. Like let's just keep it clean.
Yeah.
And just I mean, even if it's just one movie, that's still excellent. We still have one great standalone film.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't surprise me if we see a sequel in the future because of how well this one did.
Yeah, but like a lot of horror movie sequels, I mean a lot of sequels in general, but a lot of horror movie sequels is that it's that cash grab. It's just purely the cash grab. But yeah, I mean, when you introduce like these kind of rules and law, it'll be always interesting to explore more.
I want to see a comic book
because there was a certain point where I'm like, if she's alone and she just kills herself with no one to witness, does that automatically end the entity there? Like, can that no longer?
You're assuming
transfer?
the entity would allow her to do that.
That's the thing, yeah. And also, and it would someone discovering the body a year later, 10 years later, would the entity transfer to them? Or like, if you kill yourself in front of multiple people, will they all get infected at the same time?
Picks the one with the most trauma.
Yeah, is there only one entity can only jump to one person? Because there was a certain point where I'm like, I thought this movie might go to a point where, like, I thought it was going to end with her like defeating the monster, and then like walking into a crowd, and then everyone smiling. Yeah, and I was just like, oh, this is going to be like the smile apocalypse. Yeah, I'm like, that would have been cool.
Would it be transmitted through streaming? Like if you did it on like a Twitch stream, for example, how many people could you infect?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
true.
It's a good movie. Go see it.
Surprisingly,
it made me
good
smile.
Yeah, turned my frown upside down, turned my smile upside down because it was so spoopy.
Okay, look, that's all we have time for.
Should
for
we?
The live portion?
Yeah. I was going to say, should we talk more about horror movies?
Yes, we should. Thanks for listening, everyone who's live.
Thank you, Rafal.
Thank you, Rafal. Car Talk will be up next live on our Northwest FM. This will get cut out for the podcast. You are back on the Tuesday review, starting Spooktober.
Yes, we finished our
horror films.
Yeah, we finished our Smile review. No more Smile spoilers anymore. So we're going to talk just a bit about
horror stuff
because it's Spooktober.
Yeah,
and it's the perfect time to watch horror movies.
What? We're on the air, man.
On the air, motherfucker.
We're not on the air.
No, okay, so we're not on the air. We're recording. I'm just getting our studio invaded by Alum, who just didn't want to show up to our Smile review.
Are we keeping this in, or
we'll keep this in?
All right, Alum. Okay, well, hang on. Last week, Alum said he was going to watch The Boys season 3, and I knew he wouldn't do it, but that was okay because we watched Smile, and then we'll talk about that instead. Alum doesn't show up to the show. I'm like, oh, why didn't you show up? We didn't talk about. We talked about Smile. And he's like, oh, I didn't because I didn't watch The Boys. So he chickened out. Didn't show up.
I thought this would be one he wanted to talk about too, because he enjoyed the movie.
Yeah,
I did enjoy the movie.
Alum said he enjoyed Smile. All right, are you going to sit in or what?
I'm gonna be rid of
just before you leave, what was your favorite part about Smile?
Yeah. For me, again, like I mentioned it to you guys, was the human element of like the scariness. It was just people with really creepy smiles, and just it set you with so much unease that like
it was all very physical. Yeah,
it kept you going throughout the film.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, Alan. Alan technically present in this episode.
All right. Jesus Christ.
Studio invasion over.
Oh my God, what a mess. All right, now Smile done. We talked about Smile.
Right.
Good movie. Okay. Now we're going to talk about horror movies. Yeah. It's October. Last 2 Octobers we were in lockdown, which was perfect because like every day I was just watching horror movies. I had so much time to watch horror movies.
Yeah, I kind of missed lockdown.
Yeah, I honestly, lockdown was the best time of my life. all I was doing was playing video games, watching movies.
Work was good because I could be a hard ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're a live
Yeah.
listener. I'm sorry. I should involve you.
Don't involve the audience.
But anyway, yeah. We'll have questions at the end, audience questions. What was I saying? We're in lockdown for the last 2 Octobers, which was perfect because I could spend the whole month just watching horror movies. This month it's very different. Everything's open back up, a lot busier at work.
Life
so
intrudes.
Yeah. But I was like, you know what? I'm still gonna try and watch as many horror movies as possible. And we watched Smile on like the 1st of the month, and I was like, oh, what a great start. And yeah, so it's like from now on, like the whole October, I'm just gonna be watching horror movies.
I'm joining you. Yeah.
And we might bring it up over the course of the month and talk about it.
Perfect time to do it.
Yeah.
Can I start us off by talking about a really terrible film?
Yeah.
I watched, I accidentally, so long story short, I wanted to subscribe to Shudder before I knew that most of the Shudder stuff was actually included in one of the Paramount Plus options.
Okay.
Our AMC Plus. So weirdly, through Amazon Prime, you get the channels.
Yeah.
You can get Shudder, or you can get
add-ons.
AMC Plus.
It's the best of Shudder in quotation marks. It doesn't have everything, but it has most.
But well, no, it has it all, but you have to search.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird. Anyway, so
Yeah.
you can get basically AMC Plus, which is AMC Plus Shudder, or you can get Shudder standalone.
Yeah.
In the same.
So you should just get AMC
You should
Plus.
just get AMC Plus. The search functionality isn't as nice to you if you get AMC Plus.
Yeah.
When you get Shudder, you see all Shudder, right?
Yeah.
But when you see AMC Plus, it'll say, here's what we like from Shudder. It's all there, but you have to know what you're looking for, which is the annoying part.
So what happened to me was I wanted to subscribe to Shudder, but they kept declining my credit card, and I didn't know why. So I talked to the... So anyway, long story short, I talked to the bank, and then one day they charged me a whole year's worth of Shudder, and I'm like, I guess I have Shudder now.
Yeah.
So I have Shudder, and we have Shudder on Paramount.
AMC Plus.
AMC Plus, yeah. So that so I'm like, it's October. I have Shudder time still. Like, let's open it up and see what we got.
Yeah.
Right? Because traditionally October's when they get in their best content.
Yeah.
So they save up their pennies during the year, and then bam, they get in a whole bunch of random crap for October. And so anyway, I watched a movie called Trick or Treats.
Yeah.
Now,
so Callum messages me and he's like, oh, I'm watching this movie called Trick or Treat. And I'm like, oh, is he talking about the good movie called Trick or Treat? Yeah. And then he like corrects himself. He's like, Trick or Treats. And I'm like, oh, that sounds dodgy.
So much worse than you think. Yeah. So it's kind of problematic, but
is it an 80s movie?
It is an 80s movie. Yeah. So it's about a mentally ill man who's really mean-spirited.
Yeah.
Anyway, he gets arrested in the start of the film because he's mentally ill. He gets taken away to the asylum or whatever. Anyway, it fast forwards to the future where it's the woman and her husband who own the house. They're going, for some reason, to a Halloween party, and it's like not very well explained.
Ooh, 3.9 on IMDb.
Yeah.
Damn, Callum, you have to do your research before you pick a movie.
So anyway, a babysitter comes around to look after the kid of the house while the parents go away to the Halloween party.
Yeah.
But anyway, the kid has this. So he's like 10 years old, but he's like always making these weird like sexualized jokes. And it doesn't play very well.
Yeah.
It seems like it's not natural at all. It's shoehorned in.
Classic 80s.
Yeah. So like she'll like try to give him CPR, and then he'll be like, "Thanks for the kiss, darling."
Oh god.
And I'm just like, it's so cringe.
Yeah.
But anyway, the whole thing, like for like half the movie, he's doing these really mean-spirited practical jokes, pretending to die.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this? It's not horror. It's not a thriller. It's this kind of mean-spirited and strange. But then the old dad comes back from the asylum. He escapes by dressing up as a woman.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "How are you, miss?" And it's like this really masculine looking dude with like fake breasts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, weird. Really, really weird.
I feel like a lot of old horror movies.
It's a black comedy. They call it a black comedy.
Okay.
But anyway, and he tries to go around killing people because it's, he's a killer. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, it sucked. I hated it.
A lot of like horror, like 80s horror movies are like needlessly convoluted.
Yeah.
The best ones, like the reason Halloween is probably the best slasher movie ever made, if not the best horror movie ever made, is because it's very simple.
It's just a man trying to help his local
That's it.
community.
Nobody understands.
Yeah. Michael Myers just trying to teach
Local
people
nice guy.
safety. The little boy's running, bumped into him. He's like, "Hey, slow down, little boy."
That's it. Yeah. He
Just-
never killed the little
yeah.
boy.
He just wanted to teach those teenage
it.
girls safe sex, but they wouldn't listen to him. So
That's
Yeah.
it.
What's he supposed to do? No, but so then I watched. I followed it up with Soul Survivor. Have you seen that one?
no, so that's what I was gonna say to you. Is last year I acquired wink, 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 Soul Survivor because I heard it's a horror movie set during Christmas. So is it just set during Christmas?
Maybe Christmas adjacent.
Okay, because anyway, I heard it was a horror movie set during Christmas. I was going to watch it last Christmas.
Yeah.
I didn't get around to it. So I'm like, oh, well, I'll watch it this Halloween, this October. And if I don't have time, I'll watch it
Christmas. Yeah.
during Christmas
Is this
time.
the
Yeah.
Casey Affleck movie?
No.
No.
Okay.
This is
Is that a
80s
1980?
84?
Oh, okay. There's
Stuff
also
like
a
that.
2001 thriller horror called Soul Survivors.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So
It's
this
Soul
movie-
Survivor,
The
1984.
interesting
I
thing
think.
about this film is it's the predecessor to Final Destination.
Yeah.
So the
She has visions.
yeah. So the idea is this woman survives a plane crash, and she's the only survivor. Hence the film title Soul Survivor.
Oh, I was Google searching SOUL Survivor.
Oh,
No.
yeah, SOLE.
It's SOLE.
Yeah.
But instead, in Final Destination, like things will just go wrong around them.
Yeah.
And the universe or whatever will try to kill them.
yeah.
But in this one, the dead bodies of the people who died on the plane are coming to claim her. Kinda. So it's like it's not all the way Final Destination.
Yeah.
But it's like there's elements of it there, and it was the basis for Final Destination. Like the core concept was the basis for Final Destination. So I was like, that sounds really interesting to see where that idea started. And it didn't hold my attention that well. Like it was kind of sloppy. Like it wasn't, the acting was okay, but like the prosthetics weren't great. It just wasn't very well made. So I'm off to a really rocky start this October. I'm hoping to pick it up a bit. But Trick or Treats, do not recommend. Soul Survivor,
I think
in a pinch if you need it.
maybe Google it.
See, it's
first.
funny, right? When I googled it to see, I was like, this is a really weird movie. I'm gonna Google this real quick. It came up with 73%, and I'm
What?
like, no,
That's not right.
It was
There's
the one
so
with-
many
it
different
was the
movies
one with
called
Oz-
Soul Survivor.
No, Trick or Treat.
If you,
No, he's talking
Oh,
about
Trick or
Trick or
Treat.
Treat.
It was the one with Ozzy Osbourne that got 73%.
Oh, it's a different one.
Yeah, there's like a classic horror movie that has like Alice Cooper in it and Ozzy Osbourne or something.
Yeah.
It's like 73%. I'm like, not this one.
God damn.
what did you think of? I watched this a little while ago now. Color Out of Space.
I think we talked about it during one of our lockdown episodes briefly.
Did you like
I
it?
think I liked it, but it wasn't great.
Yeah,
I didn't like it that much.
I remember we talked about it. Like,
very
we were in,
CG heavy.
yeah, we were in lockdown and
I-
we were like, I think we mentioned it. The director Richard Stanley, I'm like a fan of his, and like I really liked his previous movies, and I was like he's interested in making more Lovecraft adaptations. I'm like,
Nice.
okay, that would be interesting. And then he got Me Too'd, and apparently he's an abusive asshole. And I'm like, okay,
Ugh.
that's the end of that.
Yeah.
And I can't. So, but yeah, it was interesting, but it wasn't great. I think the budget probably held it back.
Yeah.
I watched
Lovecraft-
it.
Lovecraft is very hard to adapt.
If you're not, Color Out of Space is like the only good movie. Not Color Out of Space. Mountain of Madness.
Yeah, Mouth Madness.
Mouth-
In the
In the
Mouth
Mouth
of
of
Madness
Madness.
is not a Lovecraft movie. It's a inspired by Lovecraft,
Yeah.
but it's not an adaptation.
Yeah.
No, it's not an adaptation, but it's
Lovecraftian.
close enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
I think I'm in the minority. I feel like with this movie that I don't really like it at all.
Look,
Like,
it
no,
was okay.
I think it
You know,
got. No, I think it got mostly like mixed to positive, but I think there was a very heavy mixed element of like this isn't great.
For me, the problem was, as somebody who likes that kind of cosmic horror stuff, we've waited so long, and it's like, so when it finally arrives,
Yeah.
I want something good. I want something meaty,
Yeah.
and we just didn't get it.
Yeah.
Speaking of horror, this isn't I haven't seen it yet. The new adaptation of Interview with the Vampire has just started.
Oh, that's a thing.
Oh, yeah, I'm not interested.
I'm not
Wait,
interested.
what? Is it airing now?
Yeah,
Hang on, what network is it on?
AMC Plus.
Uh,
Look, I've read. Apparently, the reviews are in for the first episode, and it's good.
yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily trust reviews.
Yeah.
I'll probably end up watching it and giving it a look myself, but I don't know. Like, I think they've done some weird story changes.
Like what?
They've pushed it, like the timeline's a bit different.
Well, that kind of
I
makes
think-
sense, I guess.
But it's kind of.
Maybe wait till you watch it. And then,
I'll watch it
yeah.
first, and then I'll comment on it a bit later.
I mean, I'm
in
no
Spooktober.
Yeah.
But it starts in 1910, so I'm like, already you've kind of like they've kind
The
of
whole
pushed
interesting thing was the whole like
past,
old-fashioned.
Yeah, the whole kind of thing I liked about the previous
original.
adaptation of the book is that it's over the course of like what 200 250 years,
something like that. Yeah.
and to make it like push it back is like it only takes place over 90 years. I'm like, well, that's kind of
That's
it loses some
boring.
of its luster.
Yeah.
Like it's not as kind of epic and long in scope.
Yeah, because the original was a sweeping tale.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm kind of already off on a bad foot.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I mean, the fact that it starts in 1910 instead of like
Unless it just starts there and then it goes back further
Maybe.
later. I don't know.
maybe, but the kind of intro scenes with like the main characters kind of meeting is like 1910. I'm like,
As long as it doesn't have you're wondering how I got into this situation.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah,
I'll watch
Record scratch.
it. Yeah, look, I'll watch it, but already I'm kind of on a bad foot with this.
Just like, I mean, I don't. The original movie isn't like the be all end all of the adaptation of that book, which I have never read. But like,
No, but it's meant to
Gee.
be an epic saga. Right?
yeah, yeah.
So that speaks to me of capitalistic cynicism because Anne Rice has since unfortunately passed away. So it's like we get all these new adaptations after she passes away. I don't know when production started.
And look, I'm
But,
guessing it's also probably cheaper to make something that's set in 1910 than it is to set in
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
1750.
maybe the estate was just looking to make some quick bucks.
It
So-
definitely feels like I think the problem now is everything is an adaptation or a remake or a reboot, and even if it's really good, it's like it just feels cynical, and it's just like I'm not really interested in any of these things anymore.
Yeah.
It's true.
So one thing I wanted to talk about, you might have heard me. I think I might have mentioned this on one of the Saturday shows. I've been reading a book called Siddhartha,
Yeah,
which was a book written by a German gentleman called Hermann Hesse. But it's about Indian philosophy, and it's about a young man who ultimately learns that wisdom isn't something you can teach others. It's something that has to be acquired.
yeah,
So it doesn't matter which holy man you go to for, on your spiritual quest. The words don't mean anything because it's something that has to come from within you, which is, I think it's an interesting idea because we often see people saying that, like, my religion's the only correct religion, or a lot of people don't learn well. And that's what this also kind of explores, the idea that something has to be explored in yourself for it to actually be understood completely. And I thought it was really interesting exploration of that concept where he ultimately decides that the best philosophy is just to live your own life and just look what's around you. But anyway, as I was saying on, I think it was one of the Saturday shows, it could have been last Tuesday as well, that Stephen King's Fairy Tale was like
on
whispering
Tuesday.
from my bookshelf.
Yeah.
Like, I'm waiting here, Stephen King's, best
New
work
book.
in 10 years.
Yeah.
So anyway, I picked it up, and now I'm 50 pages in. Not a lot's happened in the book. I can't tell myself away.
Yeah.
Incredible. So it's in first person, which isn't unusual for King. It's something he's been exploring in the last 10, 15 years. It's something he does now.
Yeah.
But I feel like so he released a book called Revival, which is this kind of Lovecraftian-ish first-person horror novel about a guy who encounters a preacher who can do wonderful things, but then the powers might come from something more sinister. Ooh. Anyway, long story short, I didn't like it. I liked the ideas in it, but I didn't like the way it was told, and that was in first person. But since then, King went through like a murder mystery phase, and he also kind of leaned into that first-person storytelling in a couple of those books, I think. And he seems to have really honed it down a bit. Like, I should say honed it up?
Just honed it.
Honed. Yeah.
He sharpened his skills, is what I'm trying to say. I apologize for my clunkiness. I'm not King. But anyway, it's told in this really nostalgic style where it's set surprisingly in modern day. It's like the kid was born in 96, and it's him as an adult telling the story to readers now.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because it's told in a really conversational way, but it's also tinged with nostalgia. So the way he talks about stuff is so natural that it doesn't. I haven't really seen anything by King like this at all. It's new to me to see.
I feel like a lot of his stuff has nostalgia because it's like a
No,
lot of
but
kids
because it's first person.
protagonists.
It's because it's first person. It
Oh,
plays
I
with
see.
memory a lot.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like, I know I played for this baseball team, and this was, and it's like the way he explores his past. I haven't seen King do this before, and it's really exciting to see because I think he's tapping into something new.
Yeah.
New for him, I should say. But my what I'm trying to say is, there's just something about it. There's an electricity in the work itself. So nothing scary or nothing fantastical's even happened.
Yeah.
He's just exploring the history of his father, alcohol abuse, playing on the sports teams, and I'm riveted by it. Absolutely riveted. I was saying to my mum today, I'm like, the problem with the book is like nothing exciting's happening, but I'm like, I have to go to bed in 10 minutes. I'm like, one more page, and then it's 12:30 at night, and I'm like still reading it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's a 75-year-old man, and he's putting out some of the best work in his career. That's incredible. But
It's impressive, yeah.
I figured out today what it is that I think like I couldn't put my finger on why it felt so similar. It's very different to it, but it has a similar kind of, there's just something about the energy of the work. It just reminds me of reading it, where I get that excitement. I'm like, I've got to turn the next page. I've got to see what happens.
Yeah.
Nothing's interesting happens, right? Like in it, for example, there's long passages of just the kids during the summer, just, playing with rocks or whatever. And I'm like, there for every word.
Yeah.
And it gives me that type of all-time classic feeling where I'm like, I'm holding something special. Because I remember before I even started reading the book, I said to you, word on the internet is that it's his best work in like 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Top of, like the very top of his game. It's like in his like top 5 works,
Yeah.
according to some people. And I was like, please. The man has, how many books has he got?
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, he has some stinkers too. Like, you're looking at you, Tommy Knockers, Dreamcatcher. There's, there are some stinkers. But he's also got some pure gold in his catalog.
Yeah.
But like I said, I can't. The cool stuff hasn't even started happening, and I can't put it down.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If this is only the first 50 pages and nothing really
Don't
has
get me,
happened
it could
yet,
all
then-
collapse at any moment.
True.
But like, I'm stunned by the man. Anyway, I just want to talk about how much I love Stephen King, because to be a grown man feeling that wonder with a brand new Stephen King book, it's special. He could, don't get me wrong, he's not going to stop writing, but he could decide to stop writing at any day, and his final book will still be wonderful.
Yeah, it's impressive that he still continues to...
Oh, look, if he could drop dead right now and his bibliography is still impressive enough for me.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like, he still started the start and it'll take you decades.
Yeah.
So,
Well, maybe
I'm
not think,
looking forward to devouring it. Like I said, I recommend it to people. Nothing interesting's happened, but like I said, I can't stop.
Well, I think we should talk about The Empty Man, because...
Yeah, I'm down.
Back in 2021, everyone's in lockdown. I started hearing about this movie. I think it technically came out in 2020. It was the last movie produced by 20th Century Fox before they got bought by Disney.
Yep.
Which meant that it was basically Disney just dumped it. Like, it didn't come out to any cinemas.
Yeah.
It didn't get a physical release, no Blu-ray, no DVD. And like in 2021, they like just dumped it on streaming. Like, you could rent it or something.
It was on Disney Plus.
No, so I'm getting to.
Oh, okay.
They just dumped it. And I started to hear about this movie, The Empty Man. There's like a 2.5 hour, a really ambitious, kind of weird, slow burn, horror, supernatural mystery, psychological thriller. Start hearing about it, people talking about it. Then they'd put it on Disney Plus. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I watched it, and I immediately messaged you guys. I'm like, you have to watch this movie.
Yeah.
And we did. It was good.
And it was amazing.
Yeah, awesome.
And it's just a really ambitious movie, and I think it was the guy's first feature film. He had worked in the industry.
So that's the thing. All these really good horror movies are always the director's
No,
debut.
not
feature.
always. Because how many times have we reviewed a movie? It's like, this is the first feature and it's garbage. I'm sure many times. But but he'd been working in the industry for a long time.
Yeah.
It's just this was his first feature film, and somehow Fox allowed him to make this 2.5 hour weird movie
Yeah.
where the first half an hour is just like a setup of the lore of the world.
Yeah.
And that has like, and then the rest of the 2 hours is like an investigative,
Yeah.
like horror thriller.
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like the detective elements are just the best.
Yeah, and the lore of it and the Empty Man history of it and whatever. It was really interesting and really well done, really effective.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you have Disney Plus, check it out. Don't read anything about it. Don't look it up.
Can we do slight spoilers for it or just no?
No, I think people should just watch
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Like it was just, and because Disney just dumped it, and for some reason, I guess some sort of weird rights issues, it was only released eventually on DVD in Australia.
Ugh.
And I bought the DVD just so I could contribute financially to the creator, because the director got a really bad rap. He got a bad deal with it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it was...
through no fault of his own. Yeah.
No, because it's like it was about to come out, and then Disney buys Fox, and then the pandemic happens, and there's just like it's dead silence.
Yeah.
And then they just dumped it on Disney Plus. And at least it's on Disney Plus. They could have just shelved it.
Yeah.
So at least we got that. But it's just a shame that it didn't get a proper cinematic release.
Yeah.
It doesn't get a Blu-ray or 4K, because it would be amazing in 4K.
Yeah. It would.
It's just a shame, and it is a really interesting movie.
Some
Very
great,
weird.
some really great scenes in that film.
Yeah,
Like the one in the woods.
yeah, especially because it does have that heavy lore element, like that history of the cult or whatever you want to call it. You know, the history of the entity or whatever.
Yeah, I know. I love like in the investigation of cults or occult religions and stuff. That's like one of the best tropes you can do for me is like, okay, there's a murder, it's satanic. I'm there. True Detective season 1, hook it to my veins. Give me that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like in like I said in our Smile review, best parts of that's the paperwork. Give me the CCTV footage. I want to see newspaper clippings.
Yeah.
Charts on the wall.
Yeah, I want to see the old
The Seven treatment.
the old what's that movie with Johnny Depp?
Ninth Gate.
The Ninth Gate. Yeah, I want to see the old stained book from the 1500s, and
with the secrets inside it. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this like Da Vinci Code stuff, but not as stupid.
Yeah.
You know, that investigative
Yeah,
Indiana Jones stuff, but with horror instead of action adventure.
Yeah.
That's all really interesting.
And the Empty Man does that so well.
Yeah.
Do we know if there's going to be like the director's going to make anything else? Is there a follow up or?
I haven't heard anything.
Because that would be a shame if it was one and done for the poor guy.
Yeah, well, considering it didn't get released properly, like there's probably no buzz around. I mean, there was a positive buzz around it, which is how I heard about it.
Yeah,
but
I've seen it on lists.
Yeah,
like these top movies you have to watch, and it's on there.
He's made one of the features in Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities.
Okay, yeah, cool.
There you go.
That'll be interesting. So yeah, hopefully keep hearing more from him.
That looks interesting.
Yeah, anything Guillermo does, I'm there for it. And you know, it's Spooktober, so any horror anthology is going to be a bit of fun. One more thing before we end up, we have to talk about Malignant. That was hilarious.
So can I just say, people pumped this movie up so much. It was so hyped.
Now, no, I want to say,
so I went in with super high expectations.
Yeah. No, because I want to say, like, it was like 2021, Malignant comes out, and it's like it's getting, I wouldn't say positive, but it's like there's some sort of buzz around it, and I hear that it's like goes really crazy at the end, which I love. You know, I love when the movies do that. But I wasn't really interested. It's like James Wan, who did Saw, and he did The Conjurings and the Insidious universe and all that. He's like a horror. He's an Australian guy, and like he's like a horror
expert.
Yeah, he's known for that. Yeah. And so he writes and directs this movie, and it's got this buzz around it. Here it goes crazy. And then you guys we were in lockdown or something. I can't. Maybe we had come out. I can't remember. But you guys messaged me like, "Hey, watch this movie. It's okay. It's like James Wan got to do his vision at least."
Yeah.
And then I watched.
I hated the ending.
No, but this is the thing, right? I watched it, and I'm like, it's like 2 hours long, which, like we talked about before, is not a bad thing. But it felt 2 hours. Like it's slow and it's boring.
Yeah.
But then it goes nuts.
Yeah.
It goes completely ham. And I'm still kind of like, this is bad. And it's not even like, and it's going like weird Matrix stuff.
Yeah.
And it's crazy and guys flying around. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm like holding my head. And I message you guys. And like, I wish I could scroll back far in like a year to find the actual message. But it was something like this. I don't know what the hell that was. I can't tell if James Wan is taking the piss or not. I feel like he's deliberately making a bad movie.
Yeah.
But I can't tell. I think he might be earnest. It's like so crazy, but not in a good way. It's boring, but I couldn't take my eyes away. I was like watching a car crash. It goes so nuts, and I was laughing my ass off. It was unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, I didn't like it, but I'm like, I want 10 sequels.
Yeah.
I want more. I'm like, just keep making it more ridiculous. I want the
until
villain,
he's in space.
I want the villain to eventually go to space.
Yeah.
Like this needs, because there's
It
no,
needs to be the Fast and Furious of horror.
there's no like good horror movie iconic villains anymore. There's no Jason Voorhees, there's no Pinhead, there's no Michael Myers,
Rest in
there's no
peace,
Freddy
Freddy.
Krueger. Like now, like horror movies don't have an iconic villain
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
And the villain in Malignant was so stupid, and I'm like, I need more of this guy.
Yeah.
And I need like more of like to expand the lore to the point where it gets so silly and convoluted until he's like fighting himself and this, that, and I'm just like, I need more.
I think there was one good kill in that movie that I can remember. It was like a Giallo inspired.
It's definitely
kind of
like,
kill.
it's definitely inspired by Giallo, the whole thing, but not particularly well done.
Yeah.
And it's so poorly acted and so poorly written. And I was like, is James Wan doing this on purpose?
Yeah. And it's funny, right? Because the hype train was like barreling for this film.
It was a private.
I think what's funny, though,
Was it a
is-
private challenge being like, I can put out a horror movie and people will buy it
Like
just
it no
because
matter
I
what.
did it.
Yeah,
They'll like
yeah.
it no matter
Yeah.
what. I'll make it a horror movie, 2.5 hours long, but it'll be dumb.
And then people were like,
But
oh, it's
people
kind
ate it up.
One of the
Yeah.
feedback I remember, one of the reviews I remember was, it's kind of lame to begin with, but then at the end you're cheering. And I'm like, no.
I was cheering for how bad it was.
Yeah, I said to you, like, Smile should be getting the recognition that the Malignant was
Yeah.
apparently getting when it was around. I'm like,
Yeah.
it did not deserve
I
it.
think what's funny though is your guys' subdued reaction to it, because you messaged me, go, "Oh, this movie's all right. James Wan, I guess, had a vision," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, maybe I'll watch it."
Look-
and I watched it, and I messaged you. I was like, "What the fuck was that?" And you guys are like, "Yeah, I don't know."
Like,
It was just like you were very like
look, it's
nonchalant
like that.
about
I
it.
went in with super high expectations.
And I was like on the couch going like, "What the hell?"
because I was super pumped for it because everyone was saying it was so awesome.
Yeah.
But like there was some cool, interesting things. Like I said, the detective stuff. She was looking through some paperwork.
But it was
there's-
all bad. Like
there was
it
that
wasn't well
backstory.
done. Yeah.
I was like, it wasn't entirely shit,
Yeah.
but it couldn't stick any of the landings that
Yeah.
it set up.
Yeah.
Just go watch Sinister instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even Sinister doesn't stick the landing. That the end of that movie is bad.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie is pretty good, but yeah.
Be a Malignant.
Yeah, but I was just like, what the hell? It was so crazy and so silly and so dumb. I was laughing my ass
Or
off.
watch Event Horizon in 4K if you can get it.
I have it, and we will watch it.
Yes.
All right, that's enough. We've rambled enough. Maybe we'll talk more about spooky Halloween movies and horror movies next time.
Well, I'm gonna continue watching my 80s shit films.
Yeah.
so-
I'm watching I've never seen the Chucky movie, so I watched the first one so far.
How do we feel?
I'm gonna watch all of them.
How do you feel about the first one?
I liked it. It was fun. I really like the animatronic special effects. They're really well done.
Good. Have you seen? Oh, what was the one with the puppets?
Puppet Master.
Yeah, have you seen Puppet Master?
I've never seen them. They made like 20 of them.
Yeah, so I used to
The Royal what is it?
Full Moon Features. Yeah,
Full
that's
Moon
the
Features.
streaming
Yeah,
service
yeah,
which
yeah.
has them all. Funny story, I watched the first 5.
Yeah. Jesus. Good
Yeah,
effort.
and the first one is actually legitimately a good film.
Yeah.
They always are.
That's all. Yeah.
no.
Not always.
Get
but
your foot
yeah.
in the door though.
Yeah,
But then the rest of them suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That's what we were just talking about with horror
Yeah.
sequels. Like it's always just cash grab and never lives up. But yeah, we'll probably talk more about horror movies this October.
Yeah.
And yeah, keep an ear out for that. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. You can please like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page, the Twitter, and the Instagram. You can catch all the other podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen.
Yep.
Adios, cousins.